Mixties presents the Popcast.
Hey, my name is Brian, that is Shane, and this is the Popcast. And today, we're talking about Star Trek Discovery. We watched the first two episodes last night on CBS All Access, which is a new streaming, yet another streaming service to be added to our giant variety of streaming services. And it's a little scary that we were like, oh, let's cut the cord, man. No more cable, no more satellite. Let's go all stream, except for now the streaming companies are starting to separate to the point where it might cost more to be on every streaming service than it would for you to have DirecTV or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But because instead of all the shows, like, you know, a bunch of shows going on to Hulu or Netflix or whatever, they're sort of separating, all becoming their own separate streaming services that cost a separate fee. And I don't know about you, but CBS All Access is costing us $10 a month. In addition to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. Start doing all the math, and I think I'm paying more for my streaming services than I am for my DirecTV.
Well, I will say that streaming is the future, much like Star Trek is in the future.
This is true. Okay, so let's get on to Star Trek really quickly. We did our boxing video yesterday for the 200. We're going to be filming our 400 boxing video and our 10 video challenge boxing video coming up here soon. And of course, we have Survivor starting soon, and that's going to be great. Along with a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of things going on forward. Please don't leave. If you were watching us for America's Got Talent, trust me, we have more to offer. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff. I hope you can stick around and join us to watch this season of Survivor, which is going to be crazy.
Right.
Okay?
So not only...
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, not only do we have Star Trek Discovery, but of course we've been covering the Orville, which we will continue to do. And so if these are your shows, then we're the place where you want to be.
Yes, yes. Okay, now let's get right into Star Trek Discovery. Initial thoughts. I gotta say, the production value was excellent. Graphics were great. So far,
yeah, Netflix money is really going far, definitely.
Yeah, that Netflix money is moving. The story so far, to me, has been fascinating. I like a lot of elements of this. I also don't like things. And I think that we should just go through all those things we like and dislike, when we do the recap. What's your initial thoughts, Shane?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the production value, like you said. I think that people coming into the show from a Star Trek background, like we have, you know, years and years of Star Trek experience, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed at how this show is laid out from a visual standpoint, for sure. Yeah. I think it's definitely right on par with everything. Even the intro was great. They used a lot of architectural drawings. They had, I think, excellent music. They used the original sound was there, the typical Star Trek music. Right at the part where they have Gene Roddenberry's name pop up. That's when the music keys in right as they fade away from his name. I thought that was really good. So the intro was nice. We got to see it twice, since we got to see, 2 hours, 2 episodes basically. But yeah, I have some reservations as well. And overall, I'm glad it's here, and I'm glad we've got some Trek to talk about.
Okay, well then let's get into the recap. We open up the first episode with a really cool shot of what appears to be like this Big Bang thing happening. It says atom by atom, and it zooms out and it ends up being the new Klingons or old Klingons or whatever you want to say.
Old, new, yeah.
Now it zooms out of their eye, and we have to speak about this because this was a reservation immediately I had. While I first did like the look of the Klingons, the more Klingons they showed, and the more that they all had the same look, this very cumbersome headpiece, very contrast, really dark or really light skin color. They look like, to me, instead of like Klingons, they look like a different race. That were similar to Klingons, like an offshoot or something. The thing is, if you're gonna make these Klingons look so foreign to us, then maybe just make them another race.
Yeah, but even though they do to me look like the vampires from Underworld, maybe a little bit like that.
Marcus
they definitely
from
have
Underworld, the hybrid vampire.
Yeah, it definitely, but this story is about the start of the Klingon War, so it's impossible to not, I know that they had a different vision and direction, and I know there's problems between CBS and Paramount and what's going on there, and there's only certain things they can do. But I am the same as you. I'm a little unsettled by the look of the Klingons at this point. I'm not going to split a bunch of hairs about it, because to me, character and story is always more important than the little things. But it is. Yeah, we're going to be nitpicky. It's what we're doing a show, so we got to be a little nitpicky.
The point of the show is to criticize. Overall we liked it, but there's criticism there. Here's the deal. They are operating in the Prime universe. Okay, here's the difference. There's the Kelvin universe and the Prime universe. The Kelvin universe is anything that happened after JJ created that first movie, when he changed history by
the reboot.
Rebooted it, and as far as the storyline goes, that's a separate universe called the Kelvin universe. Yes, CBS cannot operate within the Kelvin universe. There's very minor differences that they can't utilize. But Klingons aren't one of them. They can use the Prime Universe Klingons, like Worf from all the Klingons from TNG and Deep Space Nine, etc., etc. And they can stick in their lore. I feel like the headcanon's a little messed up, but basically they look like Klingons, and during Enterprise, and then sometime during Enterprise, Dr. Soon released this augment virus, or a version of Dr. Soon released an augment virus that affected the Klingons. They became more human-like for some generations before eventually reverting back to their TNG status. That explained why they look like more like humans in TOS. I understand that was just a retcon issue to explain the timeline. Understood completely. But either way, they made that canon. They made that cement, right? So
okay.
To then go around that cement and just change them completely with very, very little explanation whatsoever. And not like a little bit. They did change them completely. They have head ridges, but some of their heads are elongated,
Mm-hmm.
They have really huge frontal lobes, Even their teeth, instead of their teeth being like sharp, they're like these weird hook things. They look like a different species of Klingon, like a mutated version of Klingon.
Well, and I know I don't know if it's a mutated version. I know that Alex Kurtzman was on. He's one of the writers, creators. Was on After Trek, which is another CBS streaming show that comes on. It's CBS produced, so it's going to be pro show. But he was on there talking about how they really wanted to diversify the Klingons. So they wanted to give them kind of different colors, almost like different races. So that's why you see, and they wanted to really distinguish between the 24 houses, and that's why you have so many different looks to the Klingons. Is they wanted them all to have a different look. Now, I'm not sure. I understand that idea for diversity, but when you're talking about a race, or when beings are created, they're not typically broken down that way. But okay. I mean, I'll go with it for now and see where it goes. I didn't like that the lead Klingon, was it Tukuvma, played by Chris Obi. He's a British actor. I felt like a lot of his speaking sounded very almost like Indian chanting, as opposed to like there was some of the harsh Klingon words, but
some of the guttural Klingon,
Yeah, I almost felt like he had a speech impediment, sort of, like when he spoke, compared to the other Klingons. There was something, either the makeup was getting in the way of of him being able to verbalize proper. There was something caught there in his mouth. Did you catch that?
Yeah,
too?
it was like he had something in his mouth. Right? Yeah, he was mumbling a little bit, like it was even the white Klingon, or albino Klingon, or whatever it was. It was
albino.
Albino.
According to the writer,
he was easier to understand. Much easier to understand. And the other guy, and I found it sort of like just distracting. It's like, so as they're speaking, I'm reading the text, and I'm not a guy, I don't really like subtitles normally, but I can understand why they're here. So I'm reading them, and I find myself sort of drifting off to my phone. You know that thing where you're just so you're sort of like they're losing my attention. And I'm just waiting for, now my brain is just waiting for English words to start happening before I look back up. And I found myself drifting a few times during the Klingon segments, even though I am fascinated by the Klingon history. It was hard to keep, it didn't keep my attention. It was very dark and very mumbly,
Well, let's go back through the recap for people who want to kind of relive what the show went, and then let's break that stuff down.
You're right. So we got distracted by the Klingons.
It's okay. Klingons can do that.
All right. So after the Klingon portion, it goes to the planet, to a planet, a very barren planet that's being run over by radiation, and the captain and her first officer, which is Michael Burnham. Thank you.
Michael Burnham.
Look at that.
Well, look at you taking notes. Played by Sonequa Martin Green, most remembered for her part on The Walking Dead. She was a character on that show for several seasons.
And the captain, Michelle Yeoh, Captain Giorgio, which, by the way, I loved the captain.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
That was great.
She was a good, to me, she was a good Starfleet captain.
Yeah. So they're down the planet. They're going to try to save this race that is pretty primitive by blowing up, by shooting the water table and getting water back onto their planet or whatever. What happens is a storm messes up their comms and they can't get back. So now they're walking around, and Michael is questioning the captain and why they're just walking around in circles. And the captain seems very confident. And then, boom, the ship comes out of nowhere, and we zoom out, and you'll see a picture to the left. If you look at that picture, right, it's right there, you'll notice that the captain was having them walk into a pattern that shaped the Starfleet insignia. In a dust storm, in the sand.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's, that was obviously the signal, I guess. But my huge question is why doesn't the first officer know what the signal is as well? Why would only the captain and the helmsman or whoever, or the second officer, why wouldn't the first officer know? So it's a little bit, I know they wanted to impress us with a nice Star Trek emblem, or go into they wanted to do some movie magic there, but they did that at the cost of, taking out of what the facts would be, or kind of the story. Yeah, the believability. They took it away a little bit.
So again, I like the captain. At this point, I've liked the captain the entire time. Throughout the entire 2 episodes, captain was great. But I didn't like that. I didn't like they opened up with this very unbelievable, we're going to make marks in the sand in a sandstorm kind of thing, and the ship's going to see it from space. That didn't seem right to me. Again, it's a nitpicky thing, but that's why we're here, guys.
Yeah, we got to bring up these things. I mean, there's a lot of good things that we're going to talk about too.
Yes.
Like I said, right after this happened, the entire intro, I really actually enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a deviation from the typical,
it was.
Space. It was almost more like Enterprise in a way, where Enterprise took you through the different vessels. This took you through the different pieces of equipment, Starfleet uniform, and actually it had a Klingon symbol in there as well.
What's funny is that Enterprise intro was good until you laid music over it, and then it became horrible.
Well, I had a criticism of that originally too, but it grew on me.
It grew on me. It grows on you like a fungus.
I'm like, all right, I like. It's been a long
time. Yeah, getting from there to here.
Music was like that at the time. I think 3 Doors Down and all that music was real popular.
I think though that intro actually killed Enterprise, in my opinion. A lot of people didn't listen to it, didn't watch it because they couldn't handle it. Anyways, we get back to Discovery. The graphics are killer. They're in hyperspace now. Or not hyperspace, I'm sorry. Oof, that's wrong. Wrong franchise.
Spaceballs, bring it.
They're in warp. They're in the middle of warp, and the graphics are beautiful. Like stars whizzing by. The ship looks fantastic. It's a very cool look. And we get to meet our first new alien of the series. It's been a long time since we've gotten a new alien in Star Trek, and in the first 10 minutes of this new series, we get like 3 new aliens, 2 for sure. And he's played by Doug Jones. Yes, I have it written down, guys.
Look at you.
Doug Jones plays Lieutenant Saru, who is he's a prey species. Okay, this is fascinating, Shane.
Very tall species.
Very tall. And he has hooves, right? I think he has hooves.
I didn't catch that.
So he explains to them that while we had a food chain, they had a binary system where he came from, and he was the sentient species that was prey. Fascinating, by the way.
Yeah, that's very cool. I would like to see more about that.
His species grew up as livestock to what I'm assuming is a dominant species on their planet that was the predator, right?
Okay.
So I officially, because they evolved to like they're scared and skittish. I need to see eventually what is the predator species look like on their planet, and did the predator species literally just eat their species until they eventually grew sentient to stop? How does that work?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, basically this guy, basically Lieutenant Saru was a cow, is what we're talking about here. Basically, he was livestock. Livestock.
That is fascinating.
Okay.
And I like
that. Well, he wasn't the first alien though.
No, I guess no. The first alien was technically on that planet. You're right.
Right, but which I found a little odd because they showed the alien, but nothing really happened. You kind of got this look of an alien. Was that supposed to be the species that they saved? I'm guessing. I thought. Typically, when you show something like that, it's a precursor to something else about to happen, and then nothing happened. So that was a little bit of a weird thing.
Yeah, I think those were the primitive people that they were trying to save.
Gotcha.
So we didn't get much from that, but we got a lot from Lieutenant Saru.
I thought it was good.
Now, so that was fascinating. Also, there's another alien in there. I'm assuming it was an alien. It had a humanoid body, but it had like a Blade Runner robot head or something at the helm, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We don't know much about that, but at one point that character goes impossible, right?
Right.
So hopefully we get more of that if that character wasn't killed during the battle. But I want to know more. Any new species in Star Trek, we need we need some information on. Okay.
Well, yeah. There's and that's that's going to have to play out through time. I think it was important to note that they didn't go deep into this crew, into the officers on the bridge, like they typically would in a Star Trek, because this ship is not going to be here long. So we're actually moving on to the Discovery. That was the really strange thing about this show, is we got two episodes and we didn't get to see the Discovery.
Yeah.
Until the preview of, at the end of episode 2, they give you a little precursor of the rest of the season.
Yes, this is like a prelude, but this character is in the Discovery.
Right. Yeah. She's the main character. Michael Burnham.
So is Lieutenant Saru.
He does look like he makes an appearance and comes back into the season.
Yeah. He's on all 15 episodes of the show, according to IMDb.
Okay. You're right.
Okay, yeah. So we get to their interactions on the deck, the bridge was very Star Trek-y. That's what I'd like to see. I didn't really like the way Soneqa's character Michael was speaking a lot to the second officer and even to the captain. That was a little weird for me. But the overall atmosphere of the bridge was definitely Star Trek, and I loved watching that. They come up on a minefield, or not minefield, an asteroid field, and there's an unidentified object that their sensors can't see.
Well, basically, it was a relay. So they were there because a Starfleet relay went down, a communication relay.
Right.
So they were there to investigate it, and there was a hole blown through it. So yes, but that was the reason they were there. And then the asteroid field happened to be there too.
That's why they were there. And in the asteroid field, they detect some anomaly, and they can look at it, but they can't actually see it, and so they got to send somebody out. And of course, it's the first officer in a very Mass Effect looking. If you've ever seen Mass Effect or played Mass Effect,
yep.
Very Mass Effect looking spacesuit, which was nice. It was a coolest looking spacesuit. I mean, I wonder where the heck those spacesuits are for the next, 150 years of Star Trek, because those are cool looking.
Hasn't been invented yet, my friend. Yeah, that's the thing about going backwards.
Yeah. So she goes out there and she's gonna investigate this thing, and this is when we get this first look of this, like, apparently it's an ancient, the bright, Klingon device. It's an ancient device meant to call all the houses, and that's where we get some information about Callis. And I like hearing some familiar lore.
Yes, I liked Callis. I liked the fact that was mentioned
in the Black Fleet.
He obviously was, a warrior, an important historical figure to the Klingons. We've always heard, at least since TNG, and I think it was important that was an element that was kind of bringing everybody together. You almost had this, spiritual zealot is basically what this Klingon is.
Right, and now she is looking at this object, and she's describing it as old, looks like almost like stone, but also like metal. And she touches down, and there's a physical reaction, and that's when we see the very first Klingon in space with the Bat'leth. I'm not saying that right?
Bat'leth.
Mm-hmm. And in a really cool Klingon spacesuit, which again we've never seen before. That was really cool, and. Of course, he immediately responds, the way she would say, in a cultural matter, by trying to attack her, and she just immediately dispatches him and kills him.
Well, accidentally, though.
Accidentally.
I want to be clear. She didn't. I don't think that was the intention, and
she
it was
rocket
really weird.
boosted toward him, right, and just stabbed him.
Right, and well, he stabbed with his own weapon. He basically stabbed himself, and she knocked into him. It was a weird death. Yeah. Accidental killing, or whatever you want to call it.
Accidental killing, right, yeah. And then she's drifting, and they got to pick her up. They pick her up, and she is not doing great. You can see there's spots all over her face. She's looking rough. She's in this medical device that is supposed to be fixing her DNA, right? That's cool. I like how there's consequences here, and they didn't just pick her up and she's immediately ready to go. I like that a lot. I don't like the fact that when, against all of her doctor's wishes, she decides just to leave, and there's no repercussions. I wish there was repercussions to her getting out of that device a little sooner, but I guess that's for storyline they couldn't.
Well, and it was important that when, they don't know what she saw out there, that ship could be in danger. So it's just another element of her character who's, even though she's brought up as a Vulcan, she's still human. And so beyond, nothing's going to stop her from protecting her ship.
Right.
So I kind of like that about, she's like, basically, back off. I'm the first officer. If I don't want to be treated, then, screw you. I'm going to go do what I got to do.
Yeah.
So
we get a flashback sequence there, right? We get a flashback to her on Vulcan at the Academy. And
Academy of Learning.
I got to say, I'm glad that they're sticking to, like, the orb classroom thing that J.J.
Yeah, that was cool.
I don't know how they're doing that legally. That is a J.J. Abrams construct.
Yeah, but they can't own every idea. They can't own the fact that the pods are round or something. I mean, I think there's only so far that you can go where you can maybe take an entire character, but the way something looks,
maybe it's not. Maybe it's not J.J. Abrams things. Maybe there's a show out there that showed a young Vulcan in those things, and J.J. Abrams pulled it from that, and that's why they can use it. In the comments below, let us know if we're wrong there. That seemed like that was a very Kelvin
ever saw
thing.
Spock. It did. It felt very Kelvin, but like I said, they can't say, "Oh, you can't recreate anything we've ever done. We showed a planet." Stop. It's just I think there's a limit to what what Paramount can say you can't use or whatever. So.
Right. Yeah. All I'm saying is that's a very Kelvin thing. So if I'm wrong, it's not Kelvin, then I would like to know. But either way,
even if it's
cool.
Kelvin, though, I wouldn't say that it's wrong.
Right. It looks cool either way.
Yeah.
She has a bad reaction to some of the visuals happening, and then we meet Sarek. Sarek is Spock's father. He's been, I'm pretty sure, in every single incarnation of Star Trek ever.
Yeah.
I think
Sarek is the man.
Yeah, I think that character is immortal or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he's because you go back to Enterprise and you get him, actually him living on Earth, right, where he comes as part of the whole Vulcan embassy crew, and he marries a Earthling, right? So you get him in this series. You got him in the original series. I'm pretty sure that he was in TNG as well at some point. He's been in a lot of the movies. So what do you do? I don't think he was in Voyager. How about that?
Yeah, he probably wasn't in Voyager. You're right.
Because he couldn't get to the Delta Quadrant. They tried to work it out but Sarek's in everything. And now he's got multiple mutt kids. He's got a half-breed son. Now he's got a human daughter. I guess he took her under his wing that we never knew about. That's a little bit weird in this Prime universe that we never found out anything about Spock's adopted sister that he seems to greatly care about. So, yeah, a little weird.
I'm actually looking at IMDb for Enterprise to make sure that was Sarek. I'm pretty sure it was Sarek.
It was Sarek. Yeah, no, it was Sarek. They use him. He is a device. He is a device in a lot of these Star Trek. When you can't use Spock, your go-to is Sarek. You go to his dad because they can live for a lot of years.
Right. So we might be wrong, and if we're wrong, let us know.
I don't think I'm wrong.
It might not have been Sarek. It might have been Ambassador Soval.
Oh, it might have been.
Yeah.
But they all seem like,
But they all seem like Sarek.
All them Vulcans look alike. What are you talking about? They're all Sarek.
Oh, you Vulcan racist.
Listen, in my mind, you can do whatever you want, but all them Vulcans look the same, except for Spock, for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So we meet Sarek there, and that tells you that there is definitely a full-grown Spock running around somewhere on Vulcan at this point.
Right.
Which is nice. So she after the flashback, she jumps out into the corridor. She runs to the bridge. She warns them that there's a Klingon out there. They go to red alert, and
boom. The captain trusted her immediately.
Which was nice.
The captain didn't want to believe her, based on what they knew, but she said, "You know what? I'm going to trust what my first officer's telling me, no matter what."
Yes, and boom, Klingon ship. They target the device, and the Klingon ship decloaks off their stern or whatever. So here's the deal: this ancient Klingon ship that we've never seen anything that looks like this before.
Nope.
And it already has cloaking technology. That's pretty impressive, and we apparently don't know anything about it. Although in Enterprise we did know about cloaking tech. So
yeah. So I don't know. I'm not going to try to put all that together in these different series because we don't know where it's going. What we know now is that all the other Klingons are like, what? They didn't believe that he could make a ship disappear. He had to prove it later on. So this is something that definitely comes from this Klingon specifically.
Yeah. And
I don't even know if we're going to figure out why. For the same reason, we don't know the Light of Kalis. I don't know if we know what that is exactly. It was bright as a star, apparently.
Bright as a star. So Sarek saw it from Vulcan.
Yeah, he's like, oh, a new star in the sky. So, so that's not explained, and I don't know if they're gonna explain it. I don't even know if it needs to be explained. I mean, as a deep-rooted Trekkie, I want to know how everything works.
Right.
But there's got to be a little bit of reality. They're not going to tell us everything, and I guess leave a little bit to the imagination.
That's true. So, yeah. So just to your left right here. Sorry. Yeah. FYI. That is the alien I'm talking about, dude. That is appears to be humanoid. Well, appears to be a female humanoid with a robot head, or like a really involved helmet. And I'm fascinated by this species. I need to know what the deal is with this. Like, we need like a new Star Trek Discovery, like one of those the Star Trek books that explains the various races.
An alienpedia.
An alienpedia. I need to know more about that.
Xenopedia.
A xenopedia. So we go back to the Klingons, and they're having a Klingon conversation. We got the subtitles. All the things we brought before, and they're gonna activate this thing and call people. So it zooms back to the Shinsu. Is that what it's called? No. Right?
Say again?
It's the Federation ship. Let's just say Federation ship. I forgot the name of the ship.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was a little bit tough to.
I didn't write that down. I'm sorry. So this is when we get introduced to the hologram tech. She's talking to the Admiral, and he's a hologram. And this is a criticism for me. We're gonna find criticism.
He's talking to who?
The captain is talking to the Admiral.
Okay, and he was there in holographic form, right?
Right. He's a hologram, and he can turn left and right, and he can talk to Michael when she comes in. Here's the issue with hologram tech. We've never seen it in any version of Star Trek. I don't know why it's being used here. I don't like it being used, to be honest. I think it's an unnecessary device, unnecessary effect or whatever that sort of pulls you out of the Star Trek universe a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, it definitely pulled you out.
I know they use this on Star Wars and other sci-fi stuff, but it's not a Star Trek thing. Star Trek has always been very practical about their use of screens.
Yeah, and also the Klingons did it as well. So it seems to be a galaxy-wide technology, which is a little cheating to me. I would prefer the screens. That makes me feel like I'm in a Star Trek thing. So that was, I immediately noticed that was a little bit of a problem for me.
Yeah, because if that technology is there, then 200 years later, when we're watching another Star Trek show, we should be able to see that tech, but we don't. And that's a pretty big plot hole. Like, what happened to that tech, right?
Yeah, and I don't think they need to. I don't think it was necessary. I mean, the show is already looking pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you have to? You didn't have to take it to that level. Maybe to make the people more realistic, so that the act. I think a large reason why they may have done it is so they didn't have to show the actor on their own set. So it probably saved them time. It probably saved them some money to be able to show the actor in full. You know what I'm saying? Instead of the Klingon, we don't see the Klingons in their own ships. We don't get shots of it like you would in a full movie. Yeah. So I bet what they were probably thinking is, listen, we'll just do holo, so we get the actor in the scene, and we can explain, even though we don't have to actually bring them together. That's probably why they did it. The problem is they just kind of they gave us a hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I could see that being the reason, but you're right. The hole is, and for Trekkies, you can't give too many holes for Trekkies. Too many holes sink the ship. That's for sure.
I like that.
Yeah, you like that? Too many holes sinks the ship. Not the overall ship, just this one. Okay, so we get a little bit of subordination from Michael. You can see this little foreshadowing thing where she's talking to the Admiral, and she's a little insubordinate, a little bit rough. She's not respecting the chain like she should be at this moment. Maybe it's because her emotions are high. Maybe she had that DNA thing happen when she was out there in the field. I don't really know. DNA spooling. She's not acting herself when talking to the Admiral. Or maybe she is herself. We just don't know her character very well.
Right, yeah. We're still learning because for somebody who was trained as a Vulcan and came aboard the ship very Vulcan-esque, she sure is an emotional person.
Yeah, very emotional.
And making decisions from an emotional place heavily.
Yes.
Heavily. So every decision she makes leading up to this is essentially an emotional decision.
And there's deep consequences. We're talking about war, 100-year war with the Federation, right?
Right, and you find out that her family was actually killed by Klingons, which is why Sarek took her in, I guess, apparently. So there was some sort of a attack by Klingons, and Sarek was there to rescue her. So she already has something going on. Sarek is everywhere.
Sarek is everywhere.
They didn't really give that a whole lot of story there. I mean, we got a little bit, but I don't understand why her parents were wherever the heck they were and why they were with Vulcans. So that's a little bit. I'd like to know how they ended up in proximity. I don't have that.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, that leads to her going to speak to a holographic version of Sarek.
Man, she got to speak to Sarek a lot in this one, and he wasn't around.
Which we're gonna get to another part where he is apparently able to communicate with her mentally across subspace. I don't know how that worked out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that one.
Yeah, we'll get there. So she speaks to Sarek. Sarek's like, look, these people only respond with violence. So you want them to respect you, you have to hit them. And very prison yards kind of attitude, like.
Which is right on the money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly right, and kind of a little surprised that that I know that's not the way the Federation works, but the captain dismissed her idea kind of outright, like, "Are you crazy? We can't just shoot at him." Like, okay, these are Klingons, and we do know something about Klingons. We haven't heard from them in a while, but we know something about them. So I'm not saying she should have definitely done it or listened to her, but she kind of seemed like that was completely outrageous. I mean, they know that these are warlike people.
Yeah, well, but on that topic, she gets the information. She goes out to the captain, and she's insubordinate, like almost immediately. She's clearly reacting from a place of emotion and hysteria.
Right.
She has an issue with these Klingons. She's like, we got to hit them to make them respect us. And she has more information about Klingons than other people does. It appears to be that she does, but she's definitely emotional. Everybody on the bridge is tense the second she starts talking. They make a point of pointing that out, that everybody's looking at her like they're tense. So
yeah,
it's hard to
I want to know.
What's that?
They didn't really explain how she knows so much about Klingons either. So, I mean, maybe she was intrigued by it because they killed her family or something, but we don't really know why she knows so much. But she seems to be the only one who knows. Even when they went aboard the bridge, she's like, we're at the aft section of the bridge. I mean, how did she know that they were on board the aft section of the Klingon bridge? It was like almost the captain was looking at her for, to tell her what was going on. And I'm not sure that, is there going to be some sort of explanation as to why she's so knowledgeable on Klingons? I don't know.
I don't think so. Not with the way it looks like it's playing out. But who knows? So we get to this point where she is speaking emotionally and hurried and like the cow guy said, Lieutenant Cal said,
right.
Her respiratory is high and her heart rate's high and her hairlines, and he's
Lieutenant Saru.
Yeah, Lieutenant Saru. He can see all these emotional responses that she has. Everybody sees it. So the captain reasonably says, "Yeah, we're not going to do that. Calm down. Come talk to me in my ready room because you're being insubordinate in front of my crew."
Right, yeah, you're questioning my authority totally.
Right, which is not what you do in the military, especially on a ship. Shane, you know that.
Yeah.
It's not remotely something that it should ever happen. Well, they get in the ready room and Lieutenant Saru assaults her captain.
You mean Michael Burnham?
I'm sorry. I apologize. There's so many new characters. Michael Burnham, Michael's character, Michael assaults the captain with a Vulcan nerve pinch.
Vulcan nerve pinch, right? Yeah.
Which I remember the Vulcan nerve pinch thing being like there was a strength factor to it, and not any human can learn it, right?
Yeah, that was a little confusing to me too. I didn't think you could learn the Vulcan pinch. I don't know. That was weird.
I feel like they threw it in there as a way to please fans, but it's not going to please fans if you're a hardcore fan that remembers that there's a strength aspect to that too, and she's not Vulcan.
Well, and just to let you know, in the After Trek show, there was a lot of talk actually about maybe the Vulcans having some sort of because they know some sort of martial arts, right? That Sarek might actually have some sort of a battle against somebody, like a la Yoda moment, where he's gonna kick the crap out of somebody.
Yeah, let's watch Sarek kick some butt, dude.
This is what I hear.
Yeah.
So
someone's gonna make an all-encompassing Star Trek called Star Trek Sarek.
Yeah, Yeah, James Frain, who plays Sarek, he's like, yeah, there might be some, Vulcans have this martial arts, and you might see. They made a big joke about Ponfar and stuff like that, and it was actually very interesting. If they end up doing that, if they bring Sarek in as a main character, it's just gonna so mess up things. So if they're planning on screwing up the timeline, they better do it soon.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. Even though I like Sarek, I don't want to see as much of him as we've already seen.
Right. Yeah, he shouldn't be the Obi-Wan of the show.
I mean,
in my opinion.
Literally. Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to the communication.
I already got to Star Wars references. Amazing.
I know. Stop. So boom, she comes out and she immediately tries to go against Captain Wishes and blow up that ship. Of course, Lieutenant Saru, the cow guy, is like, wait a minute. No, that's not what the captain asked. Where's the captain? What's the captain doing? Well, and by the way, I want to say I actually like this guy's character a lot.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah, I want to see more of him.
And she's like,
he's got common sense.
Listen to me or get off the bridge. And he's like, I don't think I'm gonna do that, man.
I'll relieve you.
He's like, I don't know about that. And then the captain comes out, boom, phasers up, and she's like, this is a dude. She is the captain.
She's like, she's like, belay that order.
Belay that order. Again, love the captain of the ship. I am bummed out that that's it. We get 2 episodes with her and there's no more.
And she's gone. Yeah,
I liked her too. She stole the show, man.
Yeah. So Michael Burnham, the first officer, ends up in the brig, right?
Right. She ends up in the brig, and they have a conflict with the Klingons.
I like the scene where it's them there, and then all of a sudden, like 24 Klingon ships just show up, and they kind of show it happen. I like that scene.
Right.
And then it cuts to a commercial.
It cuts to commercial. Well, it's done. I mean, then it's.
Well, it cuts. Yeah, it cuts to the new. Yeah, that was the end of the first episode.
Right, that was the end of the first episode, and there's just a bunch of Klingons. So all 24 Klingons from all the different houses, they responded to that bright light, and they're there now.
So wait. Did you get episode 1 on CBS, and then if you wanted to go see episode 2, you had to go streaming?
Yes.
Is that how it worked? Oh, CBS.
That's dirty.
CBS, that's dirty. That's dirty. It's almost like, if you want to see what's going to happen next, make sure you pay for it. I mean, that's kind of dirty. Come on. You can't make enough money off your show just to run it on CBS and on streaming? Come on.
I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but
I don't want to complain too much, but I feel like that was
you're right. Yeah, that was definitely that felt like icky to me.
I mean, I'm not complaining about it because you're paying for it, so I don't have to pay nothing to watch it.
Right.
So, but other people, they had to pay.
I understand that. Yeah, that was a bummer. So we got to the point now, if you watched it on CBS, I need you to know that we're about to talk about episode 2. And if you do not have CBS All Access, this is the point. Or you don't want to pay for it. Or you don't want to pay for it. This is the point in the show where you should probably just not watch any more of our show, lest you be spoiled. If you do not plan to watch it anyways, then hey, you know what? You're gonna get the story from us because we're doing the recap. So let's keep it going.
If you need to be convinced to go watch episode 2, here it comes.
Yes. Well, we open up 7 years earlier. We were on, I think it's the same ship, and we meet Sarek and a younger version of Michael, who is all in Vulcan garb, acting very Vulcan.
Very, very much so. Even almost more than Sarek.
With our Captain Giorgio.
Right.
And this is the meeting. This is the meeting of Michael Burnham and Captain Giorgio. When Michael, I guess, gets her, she's inducted into the Starfleet or something. I don't really know.
I guess. I mean, they don't really talk about her going to Starfleet or any of that stuff. I mean, I'm assuming that all happened. But this is her first no, actually, I don't think so. I think she went straight from the Science Academy to the ship, as, to reintroduce herself back to human society, I'm guessing.
which would explain a lot about her insubordination and the way she talks to some of these people.
Well, and I would be curious to know, real quick, if she spent time with Sarek, if Sarek was taking care of her, doesn't that mean that Spock's mom was also there around her too? So shouldn't she have had some sort of immersion into her own humanity during that whole process? Why would she be so hardcore Vulcan if she had that female influence around her? Maybe she didn't. They don't explain it, but
you're right.
That's where logically I went in my mind was, hey, where's Spock's mom? You know?
Yeah, and we might be overthinking it a little bit, but that's correct. I mean, we're Trekkies. That's what we do. We overthink things. You got to write your shows to account for Trekkies overthinking things. That's why Star Trek is so great.
And I don't think it's necessarily wrong, but I'm going to point it out anyways.
Sure. And this is when she sees the ship for the first time, gets introduced to the bridge. She clearly kicks it off with Captain Giorgio. Or Georgia, or J. I don't know. I'm not saying the name right, but you know what? You know what I'm talking about.
Captain Giorgio. I think that's right. Giorgio.
So they clearly kick it off because they respect each other, and that's good. That's how a relationship should start. And then boom, we're back on the Klingon vessel, and we're seeing that hologram technology in full effect. We're showing an entire group of Klingons with varying types of heads. That part was a little off for me too. Like some of these guys have huge lumps here, or huge like elongated heads, or like weird like protrusions, but nobody has hair. Come on, that bothered me.
No hair.
Like, you have all these different Klingons, but you decide that we're gonna leave hair out of the equation, even though that's what every Klingon we've ever seen prior to Discovery has always had. And I can't just think that, now it's a fashion thing for them to shave their heads. Because every single Klingon, even the ones from other houses, didn't have hair.
Yeah, I don't know what the decision was to go with there. I mean, obviously that's makeup, they're trying to pave their own way. I don't know. It didn't bother me so much that I couldn't watch it. I kind of just glossed over and went, okay, Klingon. And I'm trying to I spent more time looking at the words on the screen, which I'm all about. I enjoy the realism of hearing people talk and then having to see subtitles. But gosh, I hope that we don't have to do that the entire time. Please just, let's move on and let them speak some English too.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I understand. Yeah, same exact way. I love that realism, and I understand it's important to people, but there's got to be a point where we're just hearing English, right?
Yeah, let's stop making us. We can't watch the characters. You can't see the acting
in their emotions
because you're too busy trying to. Because I don't want to miss anything. I want to see everything that happens. Yeah. But I missed a lot of what was brought to the table. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Chris Obi, who played T'Kuvma, he really sold his role. I mean, I think his acting was excellent. He believed everything he did, and I thought he played an excellent spiritual leader in these first 2 episodes. Yeah. He did a great job. But I didn't get to watch him much in between what he was saying. So, I don't know.
That's true. This is when an all-out battle starts to take place. You have a bunch of Federation ships there. You have all the house ships for the Klingons. And all hell breaks out, and they start firing at each other. Cool battle, right? Graphics on point. The shots all look really good. I really enjoyed that. The Shang Tzu, Captain Giorgio's ship gets beat up real bad. Mm-hmm. Like really bad, like immediately. And her helmsman gets damaged, and she tells the helmsman, go down to sickbay. Well, I guess sickbay's gone because instead of going to sickbay, he goes to the brig, right?
Well, I don't know if sickbay was gone. I think he chose to go to the brig. He basically went to go tell her, we need you, but he didn't let her out. So I don't know.
That was a
little weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little. I don't know what the point was, other than maybe to give her some information.
Which in turn would give us information, maybe.
I guess, even though we were there for it, so it's not just from her perspective. I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, actually. You know what I want to know? I want to know why this Klingon, the lead Klingon, is so obsessed with "we come in peace" and why it angers him so much and makes him crazy to hear somebody say that. There has to be some sort of backstory where maybe he was his family was like inadvertently killed by Starfleet or something like that. I mean, there has to be some motivation behind this spiritual thing.
You're right. We're not going to know, though, because he dies.
Yeah, he does.
Spoiler
but
alert.
Maybe we'll find out sideways. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe
it started because of it.
It bothers him the same way it bothers me when my wife says, where are my Flaming Hots? It just enrages me. I ate them. I told you I ate them. I ate them yesterday, and I'm not going to get more.
Oh.
If you want Flaming Hots, go get your own Flaming Hots.
So he's motivated by guilt, is what you're saying.
Yes,
it's whatever's happening, it's a guilt thing. I got you.
He was clearly raised. Well, he wasn't raised. He had no family, right? He was like a teenager in his like dad's broken ship, which to me, it's like, how did this guy get that ship off the ground? There's a whole thing to it, but
yeah,
and they showed that backstory where he got beaten up by a bunch of like hooligans or whatever.
Yeah. Don't talk bad about my friend.
Klingons. So at this point, though, that young man went down there that didn't go to the sick bay like he was told. He went down to the brig instead. He pays for his sins against his captain's orders because he gets blown out the airlock.
Right, and she's protected. So Michael's protected because of the force field.
The emergency force field. Really cool.
Feels
like it's ahead of its time, though, because she is in a place where we have never seen that before at all. I feel like that was more of a storytelling thing. But we're seeing it now, and it's cool, and that's fine.
Yeah, it was cool.
I can just belay, timeline issues and just enjoy that. That whole scene, we'll get to that, but this is where she has the conversation with Sarek.
Yes, yeah, that was weird.
Sarek comes to her, in her mind, from Vulcan, because of his connection to her when he, I guess, mind melded with her, at the academy when she was a kid. But by the way, mind melding is an extremely intimate thing that if you watch any other Star Trek before is not something that Vulcans do. And Vulcans that do it are not seen with a lot of they're given some crap about it. And he mind melded with a human child. It just seems like
basically to calm her down.
To calm her down. It seems like it's a very intimate, very important thing to do. Unnecessarily. Well, it was a storytelling device because now he can also communicate with her across light years of space. I don't like this. I gotta say,
I don't either.
I don't like it. It seems way OP to me.
It's cheating.
It's totally cheating. We've never seen anything like this before in Star Trek. Never. It seems it goes from science to very mystical, and Star Trek is not mystical.
Nope.
Star Trek is all science, baby. Okay, all science.
Although I will say that Sarek did say it was taking a major toll on him to be able to do it, but it's like the first time we've ever seen anything like this. I mean, other than like maybe Kirk getting like some sort of sense that Spock, you get maybe some sort of additional sixth sense ability, but anything having an entire conversation and not only but about up-to-date events as to what has occurred, it's just major cheating. And
that's so OP, man.
I didn't feel like that was
maybe if it was like
correct.
I'm using this neuro amplifier and he's in a machine to communicate with her or something, I would have been able to buy it a little better, but that's not even the case. So
did we need go ahead.
So you're right. So the issue with this though is, and you're right, is we've never seen it before, and everything we've ever seen connected to mind melding or the Contra or any of that stuff was always reasonable. When Spock gave McCoy his Contra, right? McCoy was driven to go to Vulcan for some reason he didn't know, and it was making him nuts. That's because Spock's memories were driving him there. It wasn't like
Right.
some weird mystical force. It was the memories of Spock.
Well, and it's always been that way with a mind meld. When you mind meld with somebody, you share each other's thoughts and knowledge.
Right.
But this is a whole different level, and it was used as a storytelling tool. So it's just another one of those little cheating things that kind of was a big cheating thing. I mean, did we need to have this? Did they need to have this conversation?
And you're right. They didn't even need to have this
moment?
conversation. They didn't need this conversation. This scene was not required. It was
more backstory.
It just asks a bunch of questions. It was backstory. Even the backstory was not good, bro, because a mind meld is a very intimate thing that most Vulcans are not okay with. You know?
Well, no, right. But this thing in her cell where there's this latent, where he can now talk to her from great distances. And they made sure they prefaced it by making it something that couldn't happen all the time because it was taking a serious toll on his physical. So they wanted to say, well, this is only going to happen once. So here it is. And we're going to cheat this one time. It's like taking a mulligan in golf. Like, I never really liked that one. I'm going to hit it again. You know, what they were saying is she needed some pick-me-up at that moment. She had given up. She had leaned back against the cell. She had pretty much decided that she was going to die here. And then this conversation with her, she's like, you never built me up before. You never, helped me with my confidence before. And he's like, well, maybe that was a failing of mine. I mean, let me tell you something about Sarek. Sarek never took responsibility for how much he jacked Spock up.
Never.
And this is later. This is 10 years from now, 15 years, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. In this timeline, Sarek does not take responsibility for the parent mistakes with Spock, yet he just took responsibility for this adopted child. That was wrong.
Yeah,
right?
That was totally out of character for Sarek.
That was out of character for that person. Totally.
And remember, writers, this is a character that you're bringing into the show that we've seen a lot of. Okay.
Yeah, this is the one character from this universe that you need to obey some rules on.
Yes, you can't just go do whatever you want.
Made up. So that was a no-no.
And you're right. Yeah, he was totally out of character. Aside from the crazy subspace telepathic thing, it was also like, wait a minute, how is he taking responsibility when he's never taken responsibility for? And there's entire shows, entire episodes of Star Trek written around his relationship with Spock and how he never took responsibility for anything.
Right. He was just hard on Spock, and maybe you're hard on your own kids. I don't know. But this is not a side of Sarek that we're ready to see.
No.
Maybe as an old man, maybe, but not right now.
Thankfully, the next scene where she, I'm sorry, not the next scene. The next thing she does, we're going to have to get to because I want to talk about this next thing first. Once they're having the conversation, as the ship is about to be pulled into one of the binary suns, they get rescued by the Admiral, which was really cool. Admiral Anderson comes out of nowhere, tractor beams them, comes onto their ship.
I like the name of his ship.
Yeah, what was it?
He's on the Europa.
The Europa.
Which is a moon on Jupiter.
Yes,
that's pretty cool.
That's right, it is. And he saves the day. Meanwhile, Burnham is down there, and she does this weird ethical thing with the computer, which was really cool, right?
Sort of.
What do you think about it, man?
Well, I think it was cool the way she walked through it. I don't know how she got smarter than the computer or why the computer had to be tricked, but I can accept it. I was the whole time I'm thinking, gosh, man, the computer is dumb. That's what I was thinking. She needed to get herself out of jail, so it was kind of a prison break. And she needed to, but in order to explain logic to a computer seems weird to me. So the computer must have been damaged.
It must have been damaged. Yeah, you're right. So while I liked it, I did have that problem. Like, how is this person outthinking or explaining things to a computer?
If it was a sentient computer, that would be different. Like if it was a sentient, it was a.
But the computer has all the information, right? The computer can. Yeah. You don't have to. But what if you open the door for me? Oh yeah, didn't think about that. Let me get that done.
I could open the door for you, but I don't know.
The computer didn't even consider that. It was interesting. Yeah, it's a supercomputer. So okay. Yeah. But it was a cool thing that she.
But it was cool. Yeah, it was. That's what they were going for. They wanted you to have the reaction you had. Before I spoke, you were already sold on it. And that's cool because that's what they wanted, right? You to feel. And so it's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
it adds to that character.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm sorry I ruined it for all you people out there who enjoyed that scene. Apologize.
Yeah. So now the Admiral decides to take charge because this clearly is not going well and people are getting killed. And he goes to talk to the Klingons and he's like, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's not beat each other up. Klingon's like, absolutely, Admiral. That's a good idea. By the way, if your enemy ever just completely agrees with you out of the blue with zero issue, you should reconsider maybe the deal you're making. Because, like, there was no rebuttal or nothing. He was just like, you know, we shouldn't be fighting. Let's have a conversation. And he's like, yeah, I'll send my envoy over. All right, sounds good, boss.
Yeah.
We just killed a couple hundred people, but yeah, let's just have a quick conversation. No emotion whatsoever. Of course, the Emery gets destroyed by a cloaked ship.
Yes, wow, and rammed by it
in a fantastic fashion. It's rammed, and the Admiral, being that ballsy guy is, like, I love this Admiral, by the way. I've only seen 5 minutes of him, but I want to see more, because he decides, okay, well, if I'm going down, I am taking you with me, and they overload their antimatter, and they self-destruct, which was fantastic. When that happens, basically all the houses decide that they agree with this spiritual leader, and that they're gonna now, work with him because he's defeated the Federation.
Right.
In that moment, right? Meanwhile, back on Captain Giorgio's ship, she's like, "Hey, listen, we got to get a torpedo over there somehow. How can we do it?" And I love the way they decide they're gonna. First, she's gonna sacrifice herself. She's gonna fly over a little drone or whatever, and then boom, Michael's out of her cell, and she's like, "You can't do that, Captain, because if you kill him, you'll make him a martyr." The smartest thing she said in 45 minutes of TV.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I loved that she came up with that. I don't know how she came up with it or why she came up with it, and why, again, she knows so much about Klingons. But it was an excellent point, and it shows why she maybe should be a captain of her own ship, other than she's overly emotional. Surprisingly for someone that was raised as a Vulcan. Yeah.
Now, what they do is really clever. The Klingons are capturing their dead because the Klingon ship, which is a really cool portion of their ship, I want to say, their entire ship is covered in coffins. That's really cool. It's called the Black Fleet, right? They take all their dead bodies and they just, like, surround their ship with all their dead bodies.
Yeah, I like that. I guess they're protected by their dead, but at the same time, they even said, "Wow, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't really protect their ship." So I wasn't sure, and then it rammed that other ship and destroyed it. So I was a little lost there because they had basically said to some degree when they scanned the ship that, well, it can't really, it's not a warship, but yet it did, it did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So what was it? Exactly. I would like to know more about that.
Giant freaking ship. That's what it was.
I guess
giant
so.
Giant freaking ship covered in dead bodies. So they beam one of the photon torpedoes. Thank you.
Yes.
I don't know what. For a minute there, I was going to say proton. Into one of the dead bodies that's being tractored into the ship.
Yes. On his chest.
One thing is, so they obviously just couldn't beam the device into the Klingon ship, right?
Right. I'm sure there's some sort of protection that keeps you from the interference or whatever.
Okay, so they
said that. They couldn't board it, yeah.
Right. So that's really cool, and the dead body brings it up, and boom, destroys the neck of the ship, which is exactly what Michael wanted to do in the first place, was take out the neck. That neck automatically started falling down, which is a little weird to me. It was like, I'm like, why are you?
Well, they said they were going to cut the head off.
Why is the thing falling down? Like, it should have drifted off, or I don't know. That was weird to me.
Oh yeah.
Like, why is it falling down? There's no gravity. It just should have, Anyways, it did explode the ship. That was a really cool scene. The graphics were really sweet there. And of course, the captain and the first officer decide they have to go capture that guy now, because that's how you destroy a movement. Is you don't kill him, you don't make him a martyr, you capture him and show him as his humanity.
Yeah. Then she kills him.
and then she purposely flips the switch and kills him. Okay, we need to talk about this. This part of the series bothered me.
Flicks the switch. You mean shot him with her phaser?
She picked up the phaser. It was green. She waited for it to go red before she shot him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she was so mad that he killed her captain, but you didn't see that on her face. I didn't see anger.
I didn't see
she
anger.
should be. It's her friend.
I saw her wait for it to turn red before shooting it. I saw her wait for it to be deadly.
Premeditated murder.
Instead of just shooting him with the stun portion of it, she waited for the red dot and then shot him.
Right.
After that whole thing of we can't let him be a murderer, she basically condemns the universe to war.
Galaxy. In that one act she does, and I don't know. I don't think Sonequa, or maybe it was the way it was shot, I don't think she sold that scene completely. And also, I don't think Lieutenant Saru would have, at least nobody else in Trek would have just pulled somebody off of the ship when they're telling them not to do it.
Well, no, but Lieutenant Saru would, because he is a prey animal, and everything he does is careful. You know, everything is.
I mean, I get that, but these are also Federation. You know, he works for her, so
right.
You know, she's saying, oh, don't. He goes, the captain's dead. You're in danger. Goodbye. I mean, let me tell you, if Scotty had done that, you know what kind of a butt kicking he would have gotten.
Yeah.
You know how many times we would have lost people?
Spock would have went down there and beat the crap out of Scotty.
He would have been, yeah. And I'm sorry, something we forgot about that we didn't get a chance to go. And I hate to even go here. I hate to do this.
No, don't do it. Okay, do it. Just do it.
Wait. I can't do the Vulcan. How come she can make the sign? How come she can do this? Humans aren't supposed to be able to do that.
Are you sure? I could do it. I'm
No. Even when Spock was dying, Jim could only put his hand to the glass, dude. Of course we can do it. But when Leonard Nimoy created the hand signal, basically humans weren't supposed to, and they talk about it in the original series. Humans can't make that sign with their hands.
I think they've retconned that. I really think that they were like, you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and do it because.
But nobody else did. So in the other shows, they don't have, John Luke's not doing this.
Yeah, he's not like, maybe
right?
Does he?
No, he's not.
No, he doesn't. You're right. He never does.
No.
Yeah.
It's canon, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
She's not a Vulcan.
I could deal with that. I could deal with it. It's
wait. Are they going to teach her how to do a mind meld next?
Oh no,
please.
No. If she can do a Vulcan neck pinch, which is supposed to be because the Vulcans are super strong, she can definitely do mind meld. Yeah.
Now she can do a mind meld, and now she can do the hand sign. She can do it all.
Of course, man.
She's a Vulcan, but yet she's the most emotional person on the entire ship.
Yeah. That is my mate. So we're gonna get there, okay?
Listen, guys. I like the show.
Let's
show
finish
overall.
The series first, okay?
I like the show, but there's a bunch of hoo-ha out there on this too.
So they go onto the ship. They're gonna capture this guy. This part I didn't like how these giant warlike Klingons are getting bested by a couple of Federation chicks. That was weird to me.
That was weird.
I'm not saying that the Federation women can't be great fighters. I'm saying that these Klingons are supposed to be strong warriors, and like this shit. Michael straight up brute forces that dude that's holding her. She brute fights. Yeah,
she put her thumb in his eye.
Right. And she's like, and she's like doing all that stuff, and she is like the captain is fighting with a batlet against this guy, and she gets the upper hand on him. Like she gets him on the floor, and he gets a lucky jab in. That's how she gets stabbed. But she is winning that fight. That is crazy to me.
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, Jean-Luc was able to fight the Klingons. I mean, Starfleet personnel do have that. What I didn't like is that two people entered the bridge of their ship and took everybody down, essentially, which I thought was weird. And I thought if I'm Klingons, as soon as I get this large explosion and now my ship, I'm adrift here, but yet they still have gravity somehow. I don't know. I don't want to go into it, but two people basically beam aboard. Why only two to capture him? I did think that was a bunch of BS.
Okay, yeah, that's not. You're going onto an unknown ship with a bunch of Klingons.
Should have been a boarding party.
Yeah, send a bunch of people, maybe some red shirts that we can actually see die. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. That was a problem. And then she shoots some. She waits for it to turn red, even though she just did this whole speech about not killing the dude. She kills him anyways. Okay.
At least give her like a crazy face when she sees her captain get killed. Be like, ah! And then, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. I'm like, I don't care.
She's like, red? Cool, thanks.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. What? Spock would have never killed that guy.
No, he wouldn't have.
I'm not saying she's Spock, but Spock is half human. Spock would have never killed that guy, and she's not Spock, and we're not saying she should be Spock. But boy, you really built her up to be this like trained Vulcan.
Right, and now, we're seeing that she's not a trained Vulcan for sure.
No, she is super emotional.
So that's the part I want to get to. That's basically the story ends. She gets. Oh no, it's not. She gets court-martialed.
Yeah.
She gets beaten away.
She takes responsibility, which I liked.
She takes responsibility, which is great. We see that scene where the Klingon with way too much makeup dies, and all the escape pods come out of the ship, and the story's over, and now they're back in Federation space, and she's being, I guess, judged. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I mean it's a court-martial, so she got a hearing, and she's been found guilty.
And I'm glad she takes responsibility. That's good.
She gets life imprisonment.
She gets life in prison. That makes her character more, easier to stomach. The problem with this scene, though, is it's so stylized. It's the opposite of what I would expect from Star Trek. It looked like, like everything else in this series, it's a little bit dark, Well,
they didn't. You couldn't even see her judges' faces.
No, and there was like smoke behind them,
Yeah, I felt like there was a reveal there that was going to take place. Like at the end of the court-martial, you would suddenly see who they were, and it would mean something. But that didn't happen. I guess their point was it doesn't matter who they are, or they didn't have actors who looked old enough to be judges, so they covered their faces. I don't know, but
it was a style choice, bro, because they had smoke behind them. They had smoke behind her and behind him, as if there was a smoky room for some reason. It looked like some kind of evil lair or something,
It was weird, man. That was definitely weird. But I was so focused on the fact of, and they probably knew we would be. I was like, oh, what the heck are they gonna do? Okay, so she's life in prison. We haven't seen the Discovery yet. What the heck's gonna happen now? Let me tell you something. If you left episode 2 and they didn't have like, here's what's going to happen the rest of the season, I would have walked away from that scratching my head going, all right, well, that's over. It didn't really, it was kind of weird. There was no like transition. Like,
I'm glad they showed like the season preview where we actually see Discovery, which apparently looks like a completely different show.
Sort of, yeah. There's some weird stuff happening. So, and gets on.
I want to talk about the darkness thing though, because this is what bothered me. While I love this show, I'm gonna watch it. I like most everything. Right? It's easy to talk about everything you like. We already everything we like. We like the whole show. The things we're talking about right now, the things we don't like. And what bothered me the most was that weird CSI darkness. I say CSI because, like we talked before, remember those old CSI shows, CSI Las Vegas, where you go into the lab and everything is like basically pitch black except for the tables,
some lights,
or the devices have like little spot lamps on them, and it's a style choice. It shows like this cool glossy look to it, right?
Okay.
But my mind, even when I watched those shows, I said this is unbelievable because this is not the way a lab would operate. It's hard to watch. It's hard to see everything. I had that same problem for the bridge in this. Well, everything in this show was lit that way. Even the last part when they speak to the judges, even on the Klingon ship, which was probably fitting, but wasn't fitting for the rest of it. And the same charisma I had for Enterprise, the Archer show, where the bridge was too dark. But this was almost intentionally where it was like everything was too dark and there's little spot lamps on equipment, which wouldn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it distracted me.
I'm gonna give them a little bit of a buy for a small piece of that, because and you're right, the other shows were not very dark. TNG, little bit of darkness on the bridge sometimes. Most of the other shows, you're right, even Enterprise, a little dark. But I will say this: if you're on board a submarine, okay, and you're on the bridge, it is technically a dark place. If you're in combat, in the combat systems room, spaces aboard a ship, it is a dark space. It is a dark place. They're looking at radars. They're looking at things that they need to be surrounded by darkness, and that makes sense. So if that is what they were going for, giving you a little bit of a pass here, Mr. Discovery,
okay,
folks. If you were going for the realism of combat aboard today's current Navy ships, then I'll give you that darkness aboard the bridge. You don't get a pass anyplace else, but on the bridge of the ship,
right?
Okay,
that makes a lot of sense. Actually, thank you, Shane, because if that's the case, and it wasn't just a CSI style choice, then I like that. That's great. You're making it. You're giving it that realism. That's fantastic. Not very Star Trek, but it's okay to be different and to move it into a different direction if it adds more realism. And Star Trek's a very scientific show. I just don't want Star Trek to become this stylized plot hole thing where we just accept it because it has the Star Trek logo on it. But
yes.
It really shouldn't even be Star Trek. Maybe it should be a different show called Space Adventures, you know? I really hope that's the case, because on that same note, it appears that we're going to see an overarching story and not an episodic, which is completely different than the way Star Trek works, right?
That is true. That is true. And I'm thinking I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm okay with it. I'm okay with a new direction.
Now, why not episodic with underlying storyline like the way Voyager was?
Because maybe that's the way all shows are right now. You know, shows seem to be very episodic with that underlying story arc because it works, and it's always worked that way because people could pop in and pop out. But maybe they want to go at it some other way. They want to grunge it up and kind of make it like a movie. Make a long movie, you know?
The problem with that is every show I know of that gets to the point where they decide that they don't want to be episodic anymore and they want to make a spin-off or a new show that has that grunge realism, it usually doesn't do well. So you got to keep some gloss here and keep it scientific. Stargate Universe comes into mind. That show was almost unwatchable because it was so dark and so gritty and so edgy that it completely lost what Stargate was, right? Until the second season, it brought a little bit of that back, but it was too late. Show was over. Yeah. Problem with this kind of thing is you're asking people to pay for an entire new service to watch this, and you're not going to be able to capture them as easily because, like Walking Dead or other big overarching stories, you have this giant, huge underlying story that's really hard to get into unless you literally start from the beginning.
Yes, that is very true.
You can't just jump into the show.
You didn't have to pay for The Walking Dead. You know, everybody was getting TNT on their cable. So this is a new thing. CBS, I think, is making a huge mistake by trying to force this into all access. I'm not sure everybody's going to pay for it. And if they pay for it, they might not pay for it every month. I mean, the show's really going to have to come at you. I mean, the Discovery is going to have to be something fantastic. I mean, I'm all in for episode 3, you know, and I'm all in to see what happens next. But I don't know if I would pay $60 a year.
I know what's going to happen. The show. A lot of people are going to wait until 15 episodes have aired. They're going to pay for that month. They're going to enjoy their Star Trek and then turn it off until the next season.
And then go and watch it all at once. I could see a lot of people doing that if you didn't capture them. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But I don't know if they made the right call. CBS, they have nothing to worry about here. They took all the money from Netflix to make this season, even part of next year. Netflix, in return, gets to stream Star Trek internationally, not in the States, but internationally. They have the international rights to stream the show. And, you know, so it's no skin off their teeth what happens. So CBS was able to take the risk and say, all right, well, we're going to force people into our streaming platform. But the problem is CBS doesn't really have anything else to offer. I mean, they've got Survivor.
Yeah, they do.
But it also airs on TV. So on the regular network. So I don't know why you would want to have the streaming service. Maybe if you couldn't DVR Survivor or you can't get it no place else, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's one reason I'm paying for CBS All Access was for this and access to Survivor. I know yours is recording on your DVR, but I actually need it on a streaming service in order to do our show. So
yes,
it works for me. But there isn't much else there that I'm interested in. I tried to get into like some other shows they had there, and I watched a couple of episodes, and it's just so not what I'm interested in watching.
Yeah, that's where they're at right now. That's where CBS is going. So
but overall, I want to be clear. Overall, we like this. This is a great start. Probably one of the better starts to a Star Trek franchise. I can't wait to watch them aboard the actual Discovery. That's going to be. I think it's going to make it better for me. Seeing him on like a permanent location where I'm not just watching the prelude. I knew I was watching the prelude, which definitely changed a little bit for me. But I liked it. I liked the show. I'm excited to see it keep going. Some of these problems to me are just that. They're problems I can get over with and still enjoy the show. Some of them are too much, like the super long distance subspace telepathic thing. And I think that if they keep including too much of Sarek, we're going to have an issue. And they should limit how much new tech they introduce to us, because we all know this is a prequel to stuff we've already seen, right?
Well, and rumor mill has it that Sarek will destroy the timeline and send us off into a completely new direction. So Sarek, this isn't the end of Sarek. You're going to see a lot more Sarek, and even listening to the actor talk about it, I mean, you're going to see a lot more Sarek. Sarek may be part of the show, like on a episode by episode basis as a main character. So
really,
that could happen. Yeah.
Well, he is signed on for 13 episodes. It looks like out of 15. So
that's interesting because a lot of others are 15 out of 15. So which two will he not be in?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's where we're at. That's it, man. We like the show. The problems we had, we don't want helping to offend anybody. If we're wrong, have a comment with us. Let us know in the comments. Tell us if you agree, disagree. Correct us if we're incorrect. If you have questions, please ask them. We are two hardcore Trekkies. We've seen everything Star Trek, every webisode, every episode, every movie, I've even read comic books. I've read every book. I love Star Trek and the universe that sets in. The reason we're being overly critical.
It's on my desk, man. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I have like 25 of those.
Here, wait. There we go.
Yeah, so we're in the same thing.
They're here.
The reason we're being critical of this is because this is our favorite thing.
It is. Absolutely.
Out of everything we watch and enjoy, this is probably our favorite thing. And, we want it to be treated with respect.
Yeah.
And so far it's fine. They've definitely put the effort into this. This was a movie quality TV premiere.
Well, and I needed this to be a win because yesterday my Miami Dolphins got their tails beat bad by the Jets.
Yeah.
And so the only two things I love are the Miami Dolphins and Star Trek. So I really needed Star Trek to be good. So
and your kids and your brother and your podcast maybe.
My wife and yeah.
There's other stuff.
I love all you guys too, right?
We also like Star Wars a little bit. Okay, anyways, listen. Like I said, we are massive Trekkies. It is probably our favorite thing, and we wanted to see it succeed, and we're giving it the benefit of the doubt. One quick side note is Rainn Wilson looks fantastic as Harry Mudd, and I'm so happy.
I can't wait to get Harry Mudd.
Yes, I'm so happy they're bringing Mudd into this show.
From the original series character, absolutely.
What a fantastic! It seems like he's going to be on a whole lot more than just a couple episodes. This guy is set up for 9 episodes, which means he's going to be a big portion of this show.
He's a genius. He's a troublemaker. Kirk knew about him for a long time. When they run into him, they realize, oh, you're that guy. So I mean, he's got some Starfleet history that we've never dug into, and I love that Discovery is going to go and flesh out that character.
Bro, I just looked it up, and I'm wrong. James Frain is set up as Sarek for only 1 episode.
No,
that's what this says.
You're wrong.
On IMDb, look it up. It says Sarek, 1 episode. I went to look it up to get the Michael Rain information, the Harry Mudd information, Rainn Wilson.
Well, that's a lie. He's already been in 2, so I don't know.
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know. It must be a mistake on IMDb. Can't be right.
Oh, the judge is in there. Chris O'Bray, he's in 1 episode.
Well, it just can't be right because even, James Frain said himself with the writer right next to him that there's more to come.
Okay,
So,
well, IMDb must be wrong. That's it, guys. It's been an extra long show because there was 2 episodes to cover. We'll be back on Wednesday, right?
No.
No.
It's on Thursday night, next Friday.
We'll be back on Friday. Oh,
Right?
so no more
It's on
shows
Thursday.
this week?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on a sec. You're right. My bad. So we've got...
You're messing my head up, bro. You're messing with me.
Woo! Okay, so no, we'll be back on Thursday for Survivor.
Right? And Friday for the Orville.
Friday for the Orville.
It's going to be interesting covering both the Orville and Discovery. Whew, these are completely different shows.
Yeah, and we're filming boxing videos the next couple days, so you may not have a video from us, but we're putting all that together for the giveaways.
So you're not going to get a whole lot of videos from us until Thursday, but that's because we are filming boxing videos for all you lucky people that are going to win. And we'll be back on Thursday, man. Okay?
All right.
What a great way to start the week, and I guess a new season for us is technically season 3. If you look at the top corner left. And,
all right, but it goes by so fast.
Yep. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you for sticking around. Like, share, subscribe, comment,